Oysters are very much like grapes. They taste of the environment they're growing in. An oyster will absorb the flavours of its environment. It's the complex array of flavours in that oyster, and because of where our oysters grow, there's different marsh grasses and the mud is full of nutrients and it's absorbing all that stuff from the environment. So it's nice and fat and juicy and meaty, and that's packing it full of flavour. Really, an oyster is like a good wine. It's got lots of layers, depths of layers of flavour. Like a wine can have a long finish. The long finish is also, I think, a mark of a good oyster. We have 14 acres of oyster beds here where we farm our oysters basically. We grow wild oysters here, and then when they're ready to catch, we get them ashore and sell them all around the world. I'm 8th generation oysterman. My 5th great-grandfather started to rent some oyster ground off the lawn of the manor, so he started to then catch oysters from the deeper waters, bring them to the shallower waters. He relayed them in the shallower waters to then grow them on. There's a sense of legacy, and when we're walking across these oyster beds at low tide, I'm basically walking the same footsteps my 5th great-grandfather walked, my 4th great, my 3rd, my father, his father, so we're walking across and using the same bit of mud that my family's used for nearly 300 years. But it is beautiful, it is lovely, and that sense of history that you have when doing this, I can't kind of walk away from that. There's a magnetic kind of draw to staying within the family business. Just to be part of that is quite a proud heritage. I think the best part is being out here because it's pure. Nothing kind of seems as important or as big a worry when you're out here. And it kind of puts things in perspective. So I would say that when we're out here, it is really nice and it's really good for my mental health. And that speed which the world runs, it doesn't run here. You're not under that pressure. We export our oysters around the world, or we were exporting around the world before this pandemic. We ship them as far as Taiwan every week. We have been selling them into Europe, and we also sell them all around the UK. We've got a stall at Borough Market where we sell to the public, where they can have oysters and champagne or oysters and prosecco there at the stall, and we sell a good 10,000 oysters a week there. The rest then we distribute through restaurants in London, wholesalers at Billingsgate Market, Chiltern Firehouse, the Hyde restaurant. I'm hoping that our levels will stay the same as they are now after Brexit, but it all depends what kind of deal or no deal there is, because if Brexit no deal impacts the hospitality industry like I think it might, we're going to do a lot less of this, I think. We have a no deal and then we've got tariffs on everything we sell abroad, and there's no tariffs on stuff coming in. It could be that lots of oysters from Ireland and Europe can come in with tariff free, and therefore we're competing even more in a smaller market because we haven't got the export market. So there's a UK market. It's not just other British oysters we're competing with. We're now competing with oysters from other countries who can get their oysters here for no tariff. So it could actually make our market even more competitive and squeeze us even more, mean we might have to go cheaper. It's always been a hard industry, regardless of whether we've been in or out of Europe. Being in a fishing industry, shellfish industry, it's hard work, and it's never been pretty. I mean, our family have been involved in the industry for nearly 300 years, and we haven't had it easy at all over those 300 years. We've had bankruptcy, and whether it's disease hitting us or whether it's hard to sell things to people, so it's a bit of a red herring in regards to how Brexit will help the fishing industry, because I don't think it will. I think it's going to make it worse. We've lost a lot of money this year and we've just about survived it. But I say just about. We were, like a lot of people, on the brink of going, can we keep going? Bluntly, I don't think Nigel Farage is ever going to represent me. I don't think he really cares about the industry that he claims he's fighting for. Well, if a man who claims that he's fighting for the fishing industry never attends the fisheries meetings when he works for Europe and is a MEP, then I don't think he really cares that much, and I think he's probably doing it for his own vanity and I don't know, to make money out of doing television appearances, I guess. He's definitely not a man who represents people like us who are trying to make a living, and with a pandemic that's nearly killed a lot of businesses like us off, and then Brexit to come, which is going to have a massive impact on that as well. No, Nigel Farage is definitely not one of those people who's there trying to look after our interests. People think that we're all the same. It depresses me, but it makes me sad. We're being used as a pawn in a very messed up and kind of egotistical game, because I think a lot of Brexit is basically about who can make some money out of a no deal, and using small businesses and small industries like ourselves, because the shellfish and the fishing industry is a very small industry in the comparison to, say, the car industry or technology, and we're being used as a pawn to make some money out of a no deal. So it makes me sad that we're being painted in a certain way just to advance some other people's careers and to help them make some money out of it. With people losing their jobs because of the pandemic, and then a lot more people losing their jobs because of Brexit, I think it's just going to be very quiet. So it's very quiet now because it's end of summer. I'm worried that this could last longer and we're much quieter for many more months of the year. And will I still be doing it? I don't know. I mean, like I say, we barely got through the pandemic. If Brexit hits hard, will we be able to keep going as a business? I'd like to think yes we will, because we've been going for nearly 300 years. I like to think that my fiancée is having a baby who's so potentially 9th generation oyster girl or oyster boy growing in her belly. I like to think that he or she will carry on at least being involved in the business and generations to come after he or she, but it could go the other way, and we might have to say, look, we can't keep going because we haven't got the industry here, because restaurants are closing, export has died. What are we going to do? The optimist in me says, look, it's going to be all right, we're going to get through it, because we've muddled through it for 300 years now. But the pessimist in me says we've got to be really, really prepared for some very bad situations to come.